Who doesn't love Bolognese sauce, right? The classic sauce of Bologna in Italy. Ground meat, cooked with vegetables and herbs, tomatoes and red wine. First thing that we want to do, I'm just going to take a few sprigs of thyme, a few sprigs of rosemary, and bay leaves. I take a piece of string, wind this around so it doesn't come undone. I don't want any of those twigs to come out of there. I want to be able to lift this all out at the end in one fell swoop. Next thing that we want to do, we have washed our celery and carrots. So there I have my celery into long strips, and I'm just going to cut this into what I would call a fine dice. Push that to the side. Carrots. And then I just cut planks. And then what you can do is you take 3 at a time and you cut 1/16 of an inch sticks, matchsticks out of there. And then you're able to get finely diced carrots, a couple of onions. This is the way that most people are taught, and you have a lovely diced onion. There is my trilogy of vegetables, my mirepoix that is gonna go into my pot on the coals with a healthy amount of olive oil. Now, one reason is I really want the flavor of olive oil emulsified into this dish. The other reason is because it's fat. And guess what we don't have a lot of in the bison? Fat. Bouquet garni gets thrown in there. Salt. Nice healthy amount. Pepper. Chili flake. You just want a little bit of warmth. Oregano. Very, very important ingredient. We're not caramelizing everything. We're just cooking it through to get it glazy before we brown our bison meat. I can hear this sizzling right now. I have 2 different basil tops here. We're gonna throw those in. Got some garlic. Let's add our wine. That grapiness just marries up so perfectly, and we want this to reduce by half its volume. So all we want to do is push a little bit more heat underneath here. Cooking outside, the steam comes up from here. It meets the smoke from the wood. It turns it into enough of a weighty solid that it falls down in there in the form of flavor. Very faintly, but you'll taste the fire. We'll just let that go and keep an eye on it. We're gonna give this about 20, 25 minutes to reduce by half. Then we'll start adding our meats and our tomato sauce. The wine has reduced by half. I'm going to add my tomato sauce. That is a homemade, simple tomato sauce. We're just gonna let that come up to a simmer as well. Meanwhile, we're gonna brown our meat on the plancha. Put a nice healthy amount of oil onto our plancha. Got a nice sear on there. Why do I do that cross-hatching? So I break up the grind. That way I don't have pieces that sear together. And because we like to season everything as it goes into the pot, now, livers, to me, are a necessary part of Bolognese. And I would encourage you to try it. These livers are chicken livers. We just want to sear them. We're building layers of flavor. I love that earthy flavor that red wine, vegetables, rosemary, and liver gives as sort of like a base note on which the ground meat lives. It's just a small handful. When you taste it, there's nothing that says, ooh, livery. But if it wasn't there, you'd notice it. Like throwing a couple of anchovies into a sauce. Same kind of deal. Now, we slap a lid on this, move it to a quieter part of our grill. All right, we'll check on that in 20 minutes. This has been simmering now. I want you to note a couple of things here. One, give it a stir and we've reached that perfect sort of creamy-ish texture. Here is that bouquet garni. Throw that away. It gave its life in good service. The last thing that we want to do is taste it. That tastes perfect. Doesn't even need seasoning. And we're just going to reserve that over here. What kind of pasta do we want to use? You saw the texture of the sauce, and now you can probably imagine why rigatoni is good, but calamari is better. You can see they're going to allow a lot of space for that sauce to get through. I'm just going to use about half of it, and it's going to go in to our water. Pasta's almost cooked. Sauce is nice and hot. I have a little bit of basil and parsley, just some freshness to sprinkle on the top there. Sauté pan. A little bit of fresh olive oil for flavor. Pasta water. I like to put about 3 ounces per portion. Noodles al dente. They need 2 or 3 more minutes of cooking, and they need some moisture to absorb. And what is that moisture? The juices in the pasta sauce and that starchy pasta water. And because these are made from flour, what does flour do? It thickens things. And we just give this a nice stir, and you can see it's starting to get starchy again. And that's going to stay nice and warm in our skillet. Nothing better than a little crusty bread. Does that smell great? Olive oil and oregano for the win. That, my friends, is perfect Bison Bolognese. Little fresh herb, that's basil and parsley. Tastes nice and winey. Got all that rosemary flavor, the richness from the liver. Man, oh man. When you take your time, the results literally are always out of this world.